Hello, lovely people. Today we're going to dive deep into REW RTA settings because a lot of time people online ask what settings should I use, how much they matter, what they affect, and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to explain everything, what I'm going to have in there, but now I just want to show you the setup that I have. So I have my Focusrite audio interface connected via USB to the laptop, and I have 3.5 mm jack, this output of the laptop going in to the audio interface. I'm doing that because I will want to play some different pink noise files with different sample rates. And the thing is, like, if you change the sample rate in REW, the generator that you have in REW, it changes the sample rate as well. So you cannot play one sample rate and try to capture a different one because it matches in REW. So that's why I want to play different sample rates via the laptop and record it there. So I have this for playing the pink noise that I have. And later on, I will want to check different things, not pink noise. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to show you now. I'm just going to pull this out, and the signal that I'm going to be measuring is going to be the floor noise of the audio interface. I just want to show you so you would understand what actually it is, because uh, at this point I could measure my car, a speaker, whatever, but floor noise is exactly the same, just because I want to show you the differences between different settings. So in reality, it doesn't matter what we actually measuring, because it's just measurement, so it doesn't matter. So for this, I will be using measuring the actual floor noise of the audio interface. Okay, so this is my little setup, and now we're gonna dive into the laptop. So I'll try to do this in a extremely simplified way, because all of this is, it's actually might be confusing, and there's a lot of science that goes into that. So I'm gonna try to simplify it as much as I can, because I'm gonna be totally honest with you. uh, I don't understand everything. I was doing some research, I was looking for stuff, I was watching some videos, but it's serious stuff. It's like signal processing. So first of all, RTA is a real-time analyzer, and FFT stands for fast Fourier transformation. And basically, when you have sound waves emitted from a speaker, from a driver, you can approximate the sound by having loads and loads of different sine waves. When you combine a lot of different sound waves, you have a sound signal. And FFT is a mathematical algorithm that basically that does the opposite. It takes the sound from a microphone or a electric signal, and it displays it as a frequency response, so in the frequency domain. So basically it transforms sound or electrical signal into frequency, and it lets us see how that signal looks like. So that's what FFT does, and it has a few different settings. Now I'm going to show you a few different examples, and we're going to start with the basics of pink noise. So pink noise, I think there's two kinds of pink noises. So there's random generated pink noise and periodic pink noise. So if I go to generator in REW, you have different options for different signals. And pink noise is basically a signal that the RTA, the FFT, should recognize. If it doesn't recognize the pink noise, it's gonna I want to say like approximate and try to do the best that it can. Because for these settings that we have mainly the FFT length and the sample rate that we can set in the settings of any device. Depending on mainly these two things, the pink noise will fit like a lock, like a key in a lock. If it doesn't fit, the readings are not correct. So what I did, I took the generator from REW and I took full range periodic pink noise. So periodic means that it's every period is exactly the same, so it kind of repeats itself. Random is just totally random. And I was varying the sequence length. So sequence length is the FFT length. And I was varying the sample rate. So I chose a few different, and basically I chose the sequence length, the sample rate, and I saved it as a file. And here I have a few different files. So the first number is the FFT length, and the second number is the sample rate. So I made 8K, 48K, and 96K kilohertz of a FFT length of varying. So for example, this one is just made one just for comparison because I want you to see how 8K looks like. And then 48 kilohertz is what we use to measure our cars, because it goes down up to 24 kilohertz in like sound. So I did the FFT length. I made 8K, 64K, and 256K. And then, just for fun, I made 96 kilohertz pink noise of FFT length of 64 and 256. Now, what do I mean by saying that the pink noise fits like a glove? So at the moment, I am playing 48 kilohertz, 64K FFT length pink noise. And here in the settings, I have a sample rate of 48 kilohertz. And in here in the settings, I have 64K FFT length. So basically it matches, yeah? So I have 48, 64, and I have 48, 64, it matches. And this is the response of that pink noise. If I'm just stop it, see, it just goes away. So this is the response of the pink noise, and it's flat. So I put no averages because it's electrical signal, so I don't need any averages. And now I would like to demonstrate what happens when you choose the wrong pink noise. So I'm just gonna close this. And if you have one setting in the RTA and you play a different pink noise, for example, I'm gonna play the same 48 kilohertz, but the FFT length is different. So if I play this file, you see what happens with the readings. They are messed up and they're not stable. Exactly the same happens if I would try to play 96 kilohertz at the same FFT as 64. So this is just the sample rate different between 48 and 96. So this is different sample rate, but same 64K FFT length. So FFT length is the same, but the sample rate is different. And you have a mess here. And if I play the 8K, so you can see 8K, it drops off at 4 kilohertz because this is like half. So 4 kilohertz. And again, it's not stable. Even if it's the same FFT length, it's not stable. So the only stable pink noise, if I'm going to put like 48 kilohertz and 8K, it's not stable as well. The only stable is the one that matches. So 48 kilohertz and 64K. Now, if I'm going to play 48 kilohertz and 8K, yeah, it's not stable. However, if I change this to 8K, it becomes stable again. See? So the main thing is it has to match. Exactly the same with 48K and 256. So if I change this to 256, it takes a while because it reads longer and it's stable again. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to save a measurement of 256K. Then I'm going to save a measurement of 64K, stable, current, and I'm going to save a measurement of 8K. So now we're going to compare current. Okay. So this is a comparison between same sample rate pink noise, but different FFT length. So when you're making your pink noise here, what should you choose? Which value should you choose? Which would be the optimum value pink noise to make? Because like if we talk about sample rate, we know that 48 kilohertz is optimal for us. You could choose 44.1, which is CD quality, but everybody would choose 48 because it goes up to 24 kilohertz. So like 20K, and then it drops down after 20K. So we say from 20 to 20 we're measuring, so we need it to up to 20K. You could choose 96, but what's the point? You're not a bat. You're not gonna hear 40 kilohertz. So there's no point of wasting potentially processing power. So 48, and this the Sukin's FFT length, which one you choose and why? So this, I'm gonna separate these three measurements so we could differentiate between them. And let's zoom in a tiny bit. And here you can see. So the green one was 8K. The brown one was 64K. And this one, I totally forgot. 64 and 256. 256. Okay. And as you can see, the top end is the same. The difference is at the bottom end. So the resolution of the lower frequencies vary depending on the FFT length, or in the generator it's called sequence length. Yeah. So which one is the optimal for us for measuring car audio? So if we're measuring down to 20 hertz, which is here, yeah, we would want to have as many samples as possible down to 20 hertz. If you have IB sub, maybe you want a bit lower, down to 15 hertz or whatever. So if I apologize, if I zoom in actually a bit too much, let's have a look at this. So this is zoomed in view. Let's separate them a bit more. So the 8K FFT, you can see, oh, another thing. So when I measured the RTA, what I did in appearance, I ticked use bars for RTA, because with the bars, without the bars, you can see it kind of averages the graph, but I want to see more detail, so I put use bars. So it uses the bars, and you don't see the bars on the higher frequencies because there's more of them. So these bars is basically, I think it's called a bin, so one bin size. And as you can see, depending on the FFT length, the bin size varies and it goes lower in frequency. So with 8K, the resolution, like below 200 hertz, you can see it it's kind of granular. So the resolution is not that big. If we choose 64K, which is the brown, the middle line, you see it's a straight line and the jaggedness begins like lower than 9 hertz. So all the measurements, like in this area between 10 and 200 hertz, they are very granular. Yeah, so they're high resolution. And with 256, you see the steps are much smaller, so you have more samples in each bin, and it's even more accurate. However, do you need to have that accuracy down to 4 hertz? Probably no. So like using 256 is a bit of an overkill. There's no point of doing that. Using 8K is, I think it's not enough, because you have big massive bins and the resolution is not good enough. So from my experimentation and from what everybody else uses, 64K FFT length of 64K seems to be ideal because it goes down to like 10 hertz. And yeah, so why these bins become bigger and bigger the lower you go in frequency? I'm not sure. However, I think it has to do with the fact that the frequency scale, this x-axis, is logarithmical. Sorry for the pronunciation. And basically, on the higher frequencies, you have much more bends than at the lower frequencies. So it appears if you would change the frequency response into linear, those bin sizes should be the same. But yeah, so FFT length 64K seems about right. Now, another thing that I would like to demonstrate is was it RTA? Yeah. So we're reading this, which is 8K. Let's actually change it to 64K. 64K. Now, all the other stuff. So like the mode, yeah, spectrum mode is used with white noise, because if white noise has a linear, I think it's called a power response. So you have the same amount of energy at all frequencies. And pink noise has less energy the higher in frequency you go. So if you would measure, so this is pink noise on spectrum, it goes down. If I had white noise playing here, then this line would be linear. So there's basically two modes, the spectrum and RTA. RTA is used with pink noise, and this is basically the resolution of in octaves. So we always try to choose the highest resolution of measurement as possible. Smoothing is very similar, it just smooths the response. So if I choose like this, it's not going to do anything now because because I chose these use bars, it has to be lines. But anyway, so smoothing, when we measure, we don't want any smoothing. Now FFT length, we just went through it. Averages, again, it's a very simple thing, but let's hover around the window. Windowing is basically if you have a signal that is periodic, and our pink noise generated by REW is periodic, we do not need to use any kind of windowing. If I would have any kind of other signal, or the pink noise would be random, then potentially you could benefit by using a windowing, which again, in the comments, correct me if I'm wrong, what windowing does, it makes a non-periodic signal seem to be as periodic, so that the RTA could read it. So if I change anything, the windowing, on a normal periodic signal, it messes up my readings. So anything I choose, you see, the pink noise is not stable. It's not flat. So that means that for the signal that we use the periodic pink noise, we have to use rectangular, which is rectangular means that basically there's no windowing. And again, if you want to read about windowing, go to Wikipedia. There's loads of pages about this. An overlap is basically how much you want to overlap between the bins that you're reading. So the only thing that we need to know is that we use the highest overlap, so we would get the most accurate reading. Okay, so this is about the pink noise. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop the pink noise, and I'm going to remove, as I showed previously, I'm going to remove the cable from the audio interface. And here we have floor noise, basically, of the audio interface. And now we can actually see how the sample rate, what changing the sample rate does to our readings, because I couldn't change the sample rate too much because the output of my laptop is only 48K. So basically, if I play anything above 48K, it downsamples everything. So it doesn't make sense. So if I choose 192 and I go to RTA, you can see, there we go. The response is up to 100 kilohertz. And this is analog response. So basically this is floor noise. And for this, I would like to add some averages. So we could have a bit, I want to compare different measurements, but it's too chaotic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 32 averages. So this is 32 averages on 196. So I'm going to save this, 192, sorry. Then I'm going to change the sample rate to 96K. Again, 32 averages. I'm going to save it. And then I'm going to do the same with 48K. Again. And you can see the averages are counting slower. So the higher the sample rate, save it. So the higher the sample rate, the faster you count the averages with the same FFT length. And the lower the sample rate, the slower you count. Why? Again, try to, if you can, comment under the video, because I do not know. Now let's go down to the floor noise. It's here. Okay. So the level is different because I have this separated the measurements so we could see a bit better. Yeah? So I separated the measurements so we could see better. That's why the levels are different. And now let's have a look at the differences between these. Okay, let's zoom out. Zoom out. There we go. So the blue line, this one was 192, and you can see it goes up to 100 kilohertz. And the second one was 96, so it goes 47 kilohertz. And this one was 48, which is 24 kilohertz. Now, you noticed that when we use a higher sample rate, we have faster averaging, so we don't need to wait as long. So this becomes now practicality. If you would use a higher sample rate pink noise, such as 96K, sorry, you could have faster averaging. That means you wouldn't have to wave the microphone for much longer than compared to 48 kilohertz. But this data between like 24 and up to 47, this all of this is it's useless data for us. So again, do you need it? Not really. You cannot hear this, so we need only this. But again, with a higher sample rate, the averages count faster. Yeah. So this is the difference between different sample rates. Now, let's have a look at the difference. So let's keep the sample rate at 48 kilohertz because that we're gonna use, and we're gonna see the difference between different FFT lengths again, just for fun. So if I choose 8K, actually I'm gonna remove them because it's gonna be a bit of a mess. So that one was previously we did the same with the pink noise, just to show you how the bottom end is different and how it mismatches. But now I want to show the actual differences between these. So let's do 8K current. Let's do 32K. Okay, the averages are counting. 32 averages. Current. Let's do 64K. The averages are counting again. You probably notice that the averages are counting slower the higher the FFT. If I choose 256, you will see these averages. This is in real time. You see how slow these averages count. See, they're counting much slower. So this is again a part of practicality. If you would choose the high FFT, okay, current, and let's have a look at these. So you see, this is the same sample rate, but different FFT lengths. And again, the top one was the lowest one, 8K, and the bottom we go the higher the FFT length. And on this measurement, this is the 256K. You can see that the resolution at the bottom end is much better compared to 8K. However, you notice that on 256, on this one with the highest resolution, the time it takes to gather enough averages rises. So basically, you need to find a compromise between what accuracy you want your measurements to be and how much time you want to spend gathering those measurements. You could potentially take, for example, 2 million, 4 million FFT. Yeah. However, you see this, the red dot is still loading 9, 10, 11%. So basically it takes, let's actually choose just 1 million. It takes a long time to read the actual data. So it goes 40%, 50. Let's wait just for fun to see how averages are counting. So 90, okay, 100. And here in the corner, you see it's not even one average. It takes literally ages to count. Okay, 2 averages, 3. So I'm not gonna wait for 32. I'm just gonna save this current. And now, look, this the bottom line is the 1 million FFT length. It has the highest resolution of all those measurements. However, it takes, as you saw, literally ages to gather these. So if you're measuring an electric signal, like I don't know, whatever, you can have that 1 million, and you can leave the gear, go grab a cup of coffee or whatever, and wait until it gathers. But if you're waving a microphone around your head, you're sitting in a cold car in the middle of winter, you don't want to wait 10 minutes to have 100 averages, because we do around 100 averages around our head on 1 million FFT. So it's highly unpractical. So this is out of the window. As accurate this measurement is, first of all, we don't need that much accuracy, because this accuracy is like here between 4 and 8 hertz. Like this part is the, compared to the green one, this is most accurate, so we don't need it. Yeah, so we remove this. Then the green one, again, we don't need that much accuracy. But this one, the orange one, it's good enough. It's pretty good. So this one, I think, was a 64K or 128K, something like that. So you can see how different FFT lengths in RTA affect the actual reading that you have. So I could have done this with a microphone with pink noise, but like, for example, if I stick the microphone now, literally, I'm sticking it in. So this is the microphone response. And it, let me remove the averages, none. And what happens is it reacts to my voice. So when I'm demonstrating this, if I shut up, this is the floor noise of the microphone. But if I'm talking, I cannot demonstrate. That's why I'm demonstrating this with removed microphone and just the floor noise of the audio interface, because it's the same thing. Because what we're interested in is only the differences between. So, to summarize, you have to use the correct pink noise to match what you're measuring with RTA. And you need to find something optimal. So optimal, in my personal opinion, and maybe other people as well, is when you have your sample rate at 48 kilohertz, FFT length at 64K, you could potentially go to 128K, but you will have a bit more accuracy for the subwoofer. However, you will lose time because your every measurement will take longer than 64K. So for me, the good value is 64K. Yeah, and averages, again, I showed you with none and 32, but when we're measuring a car, we choose forever, and we're going to take 100 averages. So if I take 100 averages of the floor noise of the audio card, this is basically is taking. Now window, we know that in order for the RTA to read the pink noise correct, we know that the window has to be rectangular. Otherwise, any other window we choose, the readings will not correspond to the output of the drivers. Basically, we will not be reading the correct data. We're not going to have the correct data. So it has to be rectangular. And overlap, we have to use the biggest overlap. Yeah, so this video is a long one. It didn't show a lot. However, I hope that it made you understand better how choosing different sample rates FFT lengths and windowing affects the readings that we have with RTA. Yeah, so thank you very much for watching again, and please comment if I made any mistakes explaining stuff, or if you could put stuff more easier to understand. Yeah, feel free to comment, and thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.